Welcome back. You're still tuned in to Namibia Connect on NBC. Now, the Perpetrator to Protector project, a Namibian initiative aimed at addressing gender-based violence, was launched last week in the capital, Windhoek. Now, the project focuses on engaging, that is, men and boys in efforts to prevent gender-based violence and promote responsibility within communities. The founder of the initiative, Martin Pombili, joins us in studio to discuss the project as well as its objectives. Good morning to you, Martin. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Konja.
Absolute pleasure to have you this morning. A very interesting project that you have, of course, started. But take us through, the beginning of this. Where did it, emanate from?
This project was inspired by the current, status quo of GBV within Namibia. Hearing survivor stories and also looking at the support that has been given to survivors. But then I've also gotten to realize that there's a gap in engaging men, actively engaging men as part of the solution. So I thought to myself, what if we actually have men being at the front line, fighting against GBV? Because in most cases, men appear on the side of perpetrators. Yeah. So yeah, I just thought, why don't we actually stand up, and be the forefront fighters of such?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And
it's a very, very important topic because we've seen the statistics, of course, rise when it comes to GBV. But when you came up with those whole idea, Perpetrator to Protector initiative, the name is very interesting. Tell us what inspired you to actually name it as such.
The name is a very, very powerful one. And like I've said, in most cases, men are always on the perpetrator side. So what I wanted to do with the name is I wanted men to be shifted, the mindset and behavior in them should change, to become responsible protectors of women and children. Yeah. So that is where the name came from, just, shifting mindsets in men. And behavior also, yeah.
So how exactly do you hope to then engage men in the communities? What are the targets that you have, in actually engaging men and boys, in efforts to prevent gender-based violence in our communities? Yeah.
I think first is the conversation around toxic masculinity, because GBV isn't something, in most cases, it's not something that we learn. It's something that we have experienced, that we have seen growing up back in our homes, in our communities. So I think for me, first would be addressing issues on toxic masculinity and also just having community engagement, show men a different picture, like of what they can be, and just kill the norms or what we have characterized as ordinary, to say no, a man dominates and a woman submits and all that. We need to break such toxic masculinity practices and those things that we've normalized. So yeah, we want to do now community engagement, where we engage men and show them what a better place Namibia can be when we all fight against GBV.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I love that you actually came up with such an idea because, of course, you are a very notable, of course, figure of note on social media, and a lot of people love and follow the work that you do. What inspired you really to also use your influence to also stand up for gender-based violence and also inspire young men and boys to, of course, use this platforms to try and keep our societies safe from gender-based violence?
Talking of social media platforms, I've since coming up with this project, I decided to rebrand, but not rebrand because there was pressure to rebrand. But I asked myself, I said, I've got tons and tons of followers and people that view my content. How about I use my platform and transform it into something that promotes change, that drives progressive change. So when somebody talks, there's a conference or whatnot, 90% of the people might not have that time to attend or engage in such. But then when you actually bring it to the people closer, and that's only through social media, then I'm sure out of 100 abusers, I've got 60 probably that follow me. So they'll get the message. So I decided to use my platform to amplify these voices of the women that we are choosing to ignore, things that we have normalized. So yeah, I told myself, let me rather put my social media page to good use and help disseminate this information.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and bring it to the right eyes and ears. Absolutely. Because these people, these perpetrators are in our communities. We are housing them.
They are our brothers, friends. Our sisters, our sons and daughters, all of that.
Yes.
Yeah. Let's talk about the launch that you had last week. Talk to us about what exactly happened there, and of course we also saw that you also have very notable members of government. Just talk to us about how that went for you.
Yeah, the launch for me was it was actually a beautiful sight to behold, looking at men of magnitude. People from different corporate entities attend and show support to such initiative. Really shows that we are headed towards a Namibia that fights for the voiceless and fights for change. So we had the Deputy Minister of Gender, Equality and Child Welfare, Honorable Linda Mbwale. She delivered such a beautiful speech. She also urged Namibian corporates to be visible allies, to push these initiatives. We had the likes of Lazarus Shimi, popularly known as Gaza. He also gave a speech on the stance of the creative space on, social activism. We have had Mr. Gladwin Groenewald. He's the head of marketing. He's a marketing specialist in, corporate space. And we also had the presence, we were honored by the presence of the coach of the Brave Warriors, Colin Benjamin. It was a beautiful sight to see that men actually have time to attend such things and are willing to change. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So the launch really, I don't know.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, you can really say it's overwhelming in such a good way.
Yeah.
And congratulations once again.
Thank you so much.
But you of course then have a myriad of people that you have of course called onto this project. You have also see that your government and also corporate that you want to have on board. Just talk to us about the importance of having these two bodies on board to actually support this initiative.
I think for all government and corporate space, what we need is for them to be, like I've said, visible allies of such initiatives. Yeah. They need to be part of a movement that wants to change the narrative, that wants to drive change. Because look, with corporates, and I gave an example of that at the launch, I said, you really cannot come and tell us, say for instance, your slogan is, we grow together. And I posted the question and I said, who are you growing with if your potential clients are falling victims to GBV? So it's good to see that corporates are actually behind such initiatives. They also want to see change. They also want to be, the fighters, protectors of women and children. Yeah. Because right now, with our first pilot is hashtagged, there's two hashtags. Number one, I choose to protect. Two, corporates against GBV. Now, corporates are going to come, because look, part of the campaign aims is to have community engagement, school outreach, because we want to talk to a boy child. We want to teach them at a younger age already to start protecting, to start honoring, respecting women and children. So with corporate funding and support, we are actually able to push beyond borders, go to the less marginalized areas and talk to the people. Because these things, like I've said, these are things that are happening. These are things that are in our houses, communities. These are practices that are there being practiced. And mostly we choose to keep quiet. Absolutely. But not because we want to keep quiet. We just do not have the means to, put out and carry out really what we want to achieve, yes.
Absolutely. Let's talk about the long-term project of the Perpetrator to Protector project. Where do you want to see this project, say, in the next 5 years or whatever period you're actually measuring this?
What I would love to see is I want an educated nation, of a boy child that understands, that sees the effects of GBV, that knows, how to take up responsibility and accountability. Because I always say, the sound of GBV is only a topic when it's far, but then it echoes louder when it's in close proximity to you. Then it's a reality that people are facing. So one, we want to see a mindset shift in men where they become protectors of women and children rather than perpetrators. We want to see a well-informed boy child that knows and understands that a no from a lady means no, and we do not beat, we do not fight women. We rather protect them. We also want to see, like I've said, corporate entities pushing this narrative. They need to push movements like this. And we want also to normalize a culture of reporting, because in most cases we protect these perpetrators, not by choice though, but we choose to protect them. We say no, we look at them fighting and we say no, that's a normal thing for them, that's how they are. Until we really see the red lights leaving that house, then you realize that you're actually supposed to report such cases. So we want active reporters, we want survivor support, and we also want to, part of them, which is actually the most important part, is we want to give support to the survivors. We want to help renovate safe houses for these GBV survivors and kids also, so that they are housed in safety and dignity.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Now, during the launch, you of course showcased this purple printed shirts, which has the hashtag I Choose to Protect, Perpetrator to Protector project. Talk to us about the significance behind this, and also how government, or rather members of the public, can also come on board to actually support this initiative that you have.
Yep. So now with these, the T-shirts, we used purple. Purple is the global color for GBV. So the color already symbolizes GBV. Now, with this, I choose to protect hashtag, like I said, with the first pilot, we have corporate against GBV. We need them to purchase that. Every company has to purchase that. Then we'll add their logo at the back, which really shows that they stand with us in this fight against GBV. So it's also open to public sales, and now those funds are the ones that we are going to use to carry out and fully achieve the objectives and goals of the project.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And where can they find these if they want to purchase
we have got
T-shirts?
We have got a social media page platform on Instagram platform. It's Project P2P. So they can simply send us a DM there on Instagram, and then can have their shirt delivered or couriered countrywide.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Well, your message to Namibians, as you of course all try to protect women and children against gender-based violence, what is your message to Namibians listening right now?
I think my message is let's report. I think it's a topic that we avoid, and we undermine the topic actually, but then it's one of the leading causes to these GBV cases, because in most cases when you read an article about GBV, you always get a neighbor that says nobody has been an abusive man, but you are protecting a perpetrator. So let's normalize the culture of reporting. Let's make it normal. Let's talk to survivors. Come out and speak. Tell us how you survived, so that, because you never know who is listening. There are a lot of people who get courage from listening to somebody that has walked the same journey as them. So let's normalize speaking up. Let's break the silence. And as men, let's choose to protect.
Absolutely.
That's what I would say.
Absolutely. Let's choose to protect. Very, very strong statement. A bold initiative that you have come up with. Thank you so much, Martin Pombili, for being such a very influencer of note, and also of course taking up such a very, very important initiative to protect our communities. We wish you all the best for this.
Thank you so much, Mr. John.
Absolutely. Founder of the initiative that is of course Perpetrator to Protect project, a Namibian initiative that is aimed at addressing gender-based violence, which was launched last week in the capital of Windhoek. It's of course one that's focusing on engaging men and boys in efforts to protect, or rather to prevent, gender-based violence and promote responsibility within our communities. Of course, you are advised to search up this initiative all out on social media, and then you can also find out how you can support the initiative, and also how you can come on board, of course, to be part of this very, very important initiative. NAMIBIA Connect continues after this.